To solve a quadratic, you're trying to figure out what x values would make this equal 0. Now I've got an x squared here. That means there's 2 possible answers. So same rules as before. You want to factor. So when it's a trinomial, you want to make 2 parentheses. How do you make an x squared? X and x. How do you make a 6? 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. The only problem is, remember how we selected that middle number? We want to add or subtract to get a 5. Well, if I subtract these, I'll get 5. And if I add these, I'll get 5. So which one should we choose? Because it is one or the other. To get a negative 6, the signs must be different. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. In order to use 2, 3, I need them to actually combine to make 5. Well, if one sign is positive and one sign is negative, they're not going to combine. So I'm using 1 and 6. And let's see, I need to make a negative 5 in the middle here. So the 6, my greater number, has to be negative, plus 1 will give me negative 5. Now, with factoring, we ended here. But with a quadratic, we actually say, well, if x plus 1 equals 0, or if x minus 6 equals 0, then this would check. This would work because it would make that parenthesis equal 0 multiplied by the other parenthesis, and the whole thing would equal 0, and check. So this is where your 2 answers come into play. You have 2 mini equations here. One there, and add 6 to both sides over here. And when you do your check, you actually want to try each one separately. So negative 1, I want to put in the original equation. Negative 1 squared minus 5 times negative 1 minus 6 equals 0. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Add 5, take away 6. 6 take away 6 equals 0. Now if I'm trying this with 6 squared minus 5 times 6, take away 6. 36 minus 30 minus 6 equals 6 minus 6 equals 0, and that checks as well. Let's try another one. It's a trinomial. X and x. All the numbers that make 24. Let's see, I need a group that makes 10. Add or subtract to make 10. Again, 2 different ones. Now, the signs have to be different. So one has to be plus and one has to be minus. It doesn't matter which order I put them in. Now, in order to use 4 and 6, they got to add to get 10. But since the signs are different, it's not going to work. And to get a negative 10, the 12 has to be negative. The 2 has to be positive. Now, we don't end there, although you could stop for a minute and FOIL that if you wanted to make sure that it's going to check. But I know that's going to check. 2 different answers are possible because we have an x to the 2nd power. And you want to solve each one of these independently. Negative 2 is one answer, and positive 12 is another answer. Let's check negative 2 squared minus 10 times negative 2 minus 24. Negative 2 times negative 2. Be careful that you use parentheses when you put that in a calculator. It should be positive 4, positive 20, take away 24. 24, take away 24. That one works. And last but not least, 12 squared minus 10 times 12 minus 24. 144, take away 120, take away 24. 24 minus 24. That one checks. Because there's no number in the middle, but we're going to solve it the same exact way. So let's see, factors of 49, 1 and 49 and 7 and 7. So since there's no number in the middle, we need to pick the group that adds or subtracts to 0, because there's no number in the middle there. It's a 0 in front of the x. So 7 and 7 subtract to equal 0. Add or subtract to equal 0. The last number is a negative 49. That means one sign must be positive and one sign must be negative. Since they're both the same, it doesn't really matter which ones I give. Either one of them equal to 0 would make the whole thing equal to 0. So my first answer is negative 7. And my second answer is positive 7. And to check, negative 7 squared, take away 49 equals 0. Negative 7 times negative 7 should be positive 49. Take away 49. Easier check. 7, 49, take away 49 equals 0. They both check. Now, when we've been doing all these, I forgot to mention that, notice, the left-hand side of all these equations was something that was factorable, and the right-hand side was 0. That's pretty much the easy way to see it. You just have to make sure that you equal 0. So for this example, you don't equal 0. But what you can do is you can add 16 to both sides, and then that will make this side be 0. Just be careful on the left side, nothing combines with the 16. So the 16 would be the third part, making it a trinomial. And then we do the same thing, factors of 16. X and X, we need numbers that add or subtract to 8. No, no, yes. This is saying the signs have to be the same, and since it's negative 8, they both have to be negative. Now, hopefully you're noticing something is happening on this one. Going through all this work, but technically, I've got the same answer. That means I only have one answer, technically, for this one. Even though it was x squared, and I should have two answers, it just turns out that these are two of the same answer. So when I check this, I'm going to check it in the original, and I'm only going to check it once. In the original, though, 16 take away 32 equals negative 16. Yep, that checks. So you always have to have 0 on one side.